they say all men are created equal. Shot! Master! I'll pull out the Glock! Full of suffering, succotash, son!
It's one of your nuts hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast with Lucy and Estelle. And it's Thursday, so that means we're back with another Dynamite review. Just quickly before we get into that though, we're gonna try next week and record sort of our themed or a bit different episode for the month. And we sort of had the idea maybe we can do a Q&A. So if anyone's got any questions that they want to fire at us in the comments, maybe like it can be about absolutely anything that you want. We're kind of really open and just sort of want to get into a few different things. We don't really this month have like a dead big sort of idea or theme that we want to get into, so we'll get into a few like little things instead. So anything at all that our opinions or, you know, us in general, whatever you want, feel free to fire them across and we'll get them answered next week. But this week, it was Estelle's birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was.
Please wish Estelle a happy birthday in the as well as your questions. So what do you think about Dynamite this week? Was it a birthday present for yourself or not really?
No, it was terrible. Absolute trash.
Stevie
God, it
Kyle
went bad
shit on the
this
plate
week.
for you from Tony Khan.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it was better than the week before. I think
Yeah, it was.
marginally. The main event was fun, but
Mhm.
everything else was just like, I think this review's not going to take us a long time because I barely wrote anything down because there just wasn't much to talk about, but I guess we'll see when we get into it.
Sometimes we say this and then we end up yapping about like the tiniest little
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, overall, so far, I agree with what you said. Definitely better than last week. Last week was really bad. Like, what did we give it? Like a 2 or something. So to get worse than that would have been difficult. So the bar's pretty low, but yeah, this week was not up there.
Yeah, for sure. It opened with Mox entering with Marina, Shafir, Claudio, and then Darby arriving as well, anticipating their well, it was advertised that Mox was gonna speak. So yeah, anticipating their fallout. First up was Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho. My
Lukewarm
God.
start, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's done now and the finish was quite clean. So hopefully like we can put it to rest now.
Was
But
it? Was it clean?
yeah. Oh no, it wasn't, was it? That fucking well, he
It
won.
was decisive, but it wasn't. It was with the. I don't even know what it was that he had in his hand. So you can just hear Chris Jericho next week going, "You didn't beat me fairly."
Oh
Let's
yeah,
have a
you're right. Sorry,
rematch.
I'm just trying to be just trying to be
I'm
hopeful
sorry.
over here.
I'm
Just trying to
sorry.
have
Yeah.
optimism. This is, I mean, from the standpoint of holy shit, like these two guys have been here since the start. I mean, apparently not next week, the week after. It's the 5th-year Dynamite anniversary, and I don't think I would
Yeah.
have been as mad had it been on that show because I'm like, oh, like as much as the Jericho character is irritating, like that does pay ode to the beginning of Dynamite. I'm sure, like you
Yeah.
said, that it didn't end like with the utmost decisiveness, so probably will run it back then. Um, but yeah, I mean, to open Dynamite when we've kind of been conditioned to expect like this banger of a match
Mm.
to open, and then to receive this, it was just, yeah. I mean, before the match, they showed the collision beatdown. Um, I thought commentary sounded incredibly bored during this as well. There were several times where they just went on tangents.
About nothing at all.
Yeah, the crowd was so into this as well.
I think that helped
Not
the match.
sure why.
I think it had some good moments. I think there was some parts where I actually was quite entertained by this, and I thought, you know what, for a Chris Jericho match, this is good. And Orange Cassidy standing out as he often does. But yeah, it wasn't. I think there was a "This is awesome" chant. That's kind of like generous, generous, but I
Yeah,
love some guys.
yeah, and then a holy shit chant when he went through the backdrop through the timekeeper's table. But the thing is, I can appreciate objectively that the wrestling wasn't terrible, but I still couldn't bring myself to care. Like it was
Right.
just lame. Like I couldn't like yeah, they went through a table and like in any other instance that would have been cool, but I just didn't care. I was like, yeah, of course you do that. Like, because you have to put something in that's got a bit of pizzazz because like you've got nothing. I
Yeah.
just and then the crowd being so into it, I'm like, are we watching the same match? Like, I understand it's like it helps and all that, but to me, it's just beyond redemption. It's just beyond saving. I don't care. I don't care. I genuinely don't. Nothing can make me care. No gimmick, no crowd, no nothing can make me give a fuck. Okay,
That
when
table
I turned
spot.
this on and I saw this, nothing could bring it back.
It sets the
Nothing.
tone, doesn't it, as well for like the rest of the episode? Because you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's how we're starting it off, when you're starting off on that sort of pessimistic note. Um, and I think it was again Jericho like trying really hard to be cool and trendy and edgy when he like grabbed the camera and stuff like that, like trying to do Stone Cold, but it's just nowhere near as cool. Um, it's just old guy. He's just a boomer, really. That's just the vibes, isn't it?
Yeah, the finish, as you mentioned, there was a distraction from Brian Keith. And like you say, no one knew what the weapon was. Like even on
Not
comms,
even
they're like, oh,
commentary.
he has a weapon. The camera didn't get a good shot of it. And then at the end they just decided it was a roll of quarters, which was never really explained. I mean, I guess maybe if I do some like thinking, maybe it's the quarters of the change that Cassidy poured into the car, but that wasn't very well explained.
It wasn't. It sort of just happened, and then it was like, I don't even think did they bring it up again like after it happened that they explained what it was, but it was just kind of like,
They just finalized that it was a roll of quarters, but like that explanation of the change. I mean, I'm just making that up. That's like my assumption
like,
based on logic.
yeah,
Like, I'm not saying to spoon feed us or anything, but it was just. And then, but the thing is, the weapon didn't work because Cassidy sighted it. The ref didn't see the weapon, and Cassidy won with the beach break anyway. So it just felt very pointless. Um, I mean, it was nice, like I say, to see him win and that he didn't get taken out by the distraction because that would have just been beyond hokey. But this was like one of many things that this Dynamite to me felt awkward and cringe. There was so much cringe in this Dynamite. It's like
cringe
one cringe thing
compilation.
happened and it's a cringe confirmation, and then it was like botchamania, like everyone just kept fucking up, and it was just it was an ick. I got the ick this episode.
Yeah, there was a lot of icky things going on.
Um, then we got shown from last Wednesday, Pac and Claudio calling out Yuta. This to me is probably the most interesting thing going on right now that's actually like tangible. Um, and
Yeah,
especially with regards to the whole Mox thing, like I there's intrigue in like what is Mox doing, but then, it's like get on with it a bit. But this is like to me the most, and I'm sure you'll probably agree because like BCC girly, like interesting hook of the the challenge on Yuta's moral compass.
I agree. It's definitely give you a like this depth to his character. So like he he's being pressured by Claudio and Pac in this segment to come and defend the trio's belt, and he wants to keep the championship because it's his biggest like opportunity in his career, like to keep this championship. But obviously, everything they've done to Brian, and he idolizes Brian and stuff, and he's obviously wasn't in on the whole attack, and it's really intriguing. So yeah, you had Pac and Claudio basically being like, well, Claudio was just being a dad. Basically, he was like, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. I thought I raised you better than this, but you're old enough to make your own decisions. About a 27-year-old man, by the way. Um, and then it went to like a backstage segment with Yuta, like an interview, and he's just like he's so out of it, like he's he's like exhausted mentally, physically. He can't put two and two together, like his brain's not working. And also before that they had the Collision recap, um, which I didn't catch like all of Collision, but I did watch the highlights of this and I saw Yuta and like sort of towards the end of his match. I can't remember who he was facing, sorry. But basically his opponent started making fun of him for the whole BCC situation and Yuta just snapped and it was really, really badass. So then, yeah, we had a recap of that, and then he was just like, I don't know what to do. He's conflicted, blah, 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 everything we've just talked about. And he like accidentally said, um, I'm, I think he said that I'm going to defend this at Wrestle Dream. And the person interviewing me had to be like, it's not a Wrestle Dream, it's at Grand Slam. And then some person came down the stairs like, you forgot your belt. So it's like, I don't know if he deliberately misspoke or not. Probably, I think he did, but like deliberately. But I loved the little details in this and just him being so out of it. He can't think straight. He's leaving his belt in the back. He doesn't know what show he's at. He doesn't know what to do with himself. I love it. Love it. Love it so much.
You love it. Love it. That's good. Yeah, it was against Anthony Henry on Collision, so
Right, okay.
yeah.
What I saw of that, it was really good.
Yeah, like you say, that finish and that desperation and like the way the confrontation with the ref and stuff, it was great to
Yeah.
see that. And like you say, a lot of depth. I loved Claudio. Well, I loved Pac as well in this. As you say, that father figure, that disappoint. It was very cutting. It was very,
It was like, oh my God, ouch. That hurts.
yeah, it stings. And then Pac, this usurper who's just snaked his way in, and now he's calling the shots. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And I just say, ask him to, well, not asking him, basically giving him an ultimatum to show up for the trio title. Mox also came into this and said he had a
Yeah, I nearly forgot
personal
about that.
responsibility to the greater good, whatever that means, because we still haven't had that fully explained. Um, and yeah, you were concluding in his segment that he's going to be there to be a fighting champion because it's still his belt, and he's so conflicted. So I think that'll be a really interesting match, and the ring psychology and the interactions between those three. Um, One has to think that they're going to retain because of who they're up against, but how are they going to retain? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, I don't remember ever, I'm sure it's happened in history, but I don't remember ever seeing this before where it's like a team has broke up, but they're still champs and they've got to try and navigate that. I'm sure it's definitely happened. I just can't remember in recent history when this has happened, and I'm really
it
interested.
usually in like a tag, in it, and then
Yeah,
like they'll
like a
go on to
two-person
feud each
tag.
other. It's not so much a faction,
Yeah,
and a faction in which there's loyalty to one person in that faction and deep harbored feelings towards the others, and it's a very cool, complex thing, and it's the more interesting thing about this whole BCC breakup. Like Mox's ambitions and sights for the future. It's not that it's terrible or irredeemable or out like that, but it's just, to me, it's not fully landing yet. It's not flopping. It's not quite devil territory, but it's just like, hmm.
mm,
We'll,
mm,
it's one of those where like we'll just have to see where what comes of it really and what the actual motives are, because we're being told a lot, but we're not being shown that much. So it's hard to really decipher. But yeah, the Utah stuff's definitely the hotter bit. So hopefully they just keep focusing in on that.
definitely. There's potential with all of it, but at the moment, that's the one that's taking the ball and running with it and is like pulling your full attention, I think.
Yeah. So next up we had Hook. Shivani did the signal, which made me laugh because he didn't do that a few times in the past. You know, I love that. We had Roddy on comms, with Bennett and Taven picking up on their feud. Hook against a lad called Joe Ink, who was covered in ink, local talent.
Character equals
Yeah.
2.
Uh, as you can imagine, this is a squash match. Roddy brought up the Germans against the backbreaker. Obviously that's what Roddy's known to target. So I think that's an interesting crux for the match. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, do you know what? That is quite fun if they play into that. Hook won with the red rum. Um, but just zoning out from this feud and stuff, I think maybe we can just sort of generally talk about Hook's character. And Hook is just very stale. He's been doing the same shit for years and years. And I look at him and I think there's not many people I look at, and there's not many people I want this to happen to, but I look at him and I think, you need to go to NXT, you need to go to the Fed. You shouldn't be here. You should not be here. You need to be in a place where you are around developmental talent, people who are trying to get the best out of you. You're not ready for this. And you're at this ceiling, and you might never surpass this ceiling by the way things are going, because it's just, yeah, it's just, yeah, I think we've done all we can do in AEW with him.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a character. Like, what is it? He's a dude and he's, I don't know. I don't even know. How do you explain it? You can't explain it. He doesn't have a character. There's nothing really to him. So it's like, what are his motivations? What are his goals? It's unclear. Yeah, and yeah, I don't really see him leaving because of his dad and stuff. I mean, it's not off the cards totally. If he gets sick of his situation and decides to leave, I'm sure he's perfectly within his like sort of own power to do that. I'm not saying that his dad would try and stop him or anything, but yeah, yeah, I know. And it's just he has these feuds and they're fine, but they're not really like memorable. Like him and Samoa Joe sort of had a thing for 2 weeks where they were like sort of a team. That's not a thing anymore. That was very fleeting. Yeah, it's a shame because I know a lot of people really like him, and I'm like, don't know what I'm missing because I don't really like him that much, but people are like really into him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like one of the people who is into Hook. I think he's pretty cool. I don't know, I just think like with the right buffer, I think you could get a lot more out of him. I think he definitely has
Yeah,
talent and potential. I think he does have character, but the thing is his and motivation, but his motivations are so simplistic that they're very much point A to point B. I want to keep the FTW title, and I'm kind of like a low rate Orange Cassidy in that I don't really care until it comes
yeah,
down to it, and then I'll gear up. But
exactly.
there's not as much nuance in that character as Cassidy. I'm linking in the news of this week, guys. The TV deal appears to be finalized. Uh, hopefully announcement soon. But part of it is that Rampage is believed to be scrapped, and that we're going to have this new show called Shockwave. Now, there's been speculation that Shockwave is because Tony Khan doesn't want to get rid of Ring of Honor programming, so it's a way to push for that. But my hope would be that with this rebrand of this C tier show, that if he's not going to WWE, that this is something that we can use for developmental talent, and we really push it for that, because I think,
Mm.
you go back in time to I speak about Jack Perry and how wonderful it's been to watch Jack Perry grow as a performer, and how early AEW gave these newer talents, these younger talents, the chance to really grow in front of us. But with the way Dynamite is now, it's less forgiving, and there's not
Yeah,
room for that anymore, and people don't really want to see that anymore. So
that is
I
so
think
true.
I think why people have been calling out for a developmental show for ages now. I'm not like, coming up with a new idea. But I think that's always been a really fundamental part of AEW, and I think people forget that. People think like AEW's never had that sort of part of it, but it did. It's just now
Mm.
there's no place for it on the main show. So if this shockwave's anything to go by, hopefully that's something that we can see for people like Hook.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hope so. Because I don't really know what else you do with that, with like and Rampage as well. In general, why do you need this third show if it's not as like this developmental sort of environment?
Yeah, definitely. So,
Oh, but
you know,
it shows that we're talking about this. This match and this segment was a waste of time. I don't understand, to be honest, like why would anyone give a shit about this? Like Roderick Strong's on commentary complaining that he fought Hook last week and his foot was on the rope, which it was.
yeah.
So I'm like, Roddy's meant to be the heel, but he's literally right. So I got no investment in this. Like I got no stakes in this. I don't care. Roddy's right. Hook's facing a guy who has loads of tattoos. Do I care? No.
Yeah, and it's like, Hook's gonna win the feud. And even if Roddy won it, Hook could get the belt back. And it's just so
Right.
fleeting. And there's like the conglomeration and all that and factions they can be slotted into, but it's like I feel like with people like Matt Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly, they've done a lot and they're veterans, and if they want to kick back and have their career at this point on a lower gear, that's fine. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's what it is, isn't it? Next up we had Private Party. Um Private Party. Uh it was announced that they're going to go against the trios titles. Uh they were jumped in the previous week. They were meant to have a trios match with Commander, but yeah, this to me is just very thrown together, very.
Yeah.
And I feel like really bad for Pride Party. Not that I'm like Pride Party is so good, like push them to the moon, but I'm like you guys have had such a shit hand, like such shit luck, like with your career, and I wonder if Isaiah had never, not Isaiah, Mark Quinn, if he'd never had the injury where they'd be now, sort of thing, and
Mm,
but yeah, this is just Grand Slam. It's just. I don't know. Like, how are you feeling about next week? Because for me, I'm intrigued about Derby Mox. I'm intrigued about the YUTA element of the trios. But like the Nigel Danielson thing, I'm like, I don't even think it's even going to go ahead, to be honest with you.
interesting.
So I'm just, I
Yeah.
don't know. Everything just feels very much like booked the week before. And I get it, it's not a pay-per-view or anything like
We've
that,
just
but it's
had
an
two
annual
people.
thing of 3 years. You know it's coming. I don't know. It's like we always say about the trios and the tag titles. So it's like it's such an afterthought. It's like the only time there's thought given is when they need to transition it to another person, and then it's like, oh fuck, now we need to find competitors for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Private Party are like one of the only good like tag teams, like two-person tag teams.
Mm,
And now they're battling for the trios for some reason. And I get that BCC like attacked them last week. So it's not like it's come out of nowhere, but that came out of nowhere. Just because it's come from something doesn't mean it's good. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. I do not get it at all. And yeah, the tag division is just yeah, such an afterthought. I'm looking forward to Grand Slam just mainly because of Nigel Bryan and just seeing where they go with that. It's interesting that you said you don't think it's going to happen at all, but we'll talk a bit about that later on. I'm not going to get into that now. But yeah, it is. It has been quite like rushed, but that's what's going to happen. You've got two pay-per-views like basically a week apart, and then you follow up with this really big show. And there is some
yeah.
good like matches that are exciting, sure, and I'm sure they're gonna be good matches. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
And Private Party as well. They're like we've talked about how thin the tag division is. This is a tag
Yeah.
division, and the other thing that pissed me off about why I felt this was so rushed is they're like we'll find a
Yeah,
competitor like last minute. That was the other element of
yeah,
just that like pissed me off. And I was like, okay. Okay.
exactly. Like, who is that going to be? And I don't have any stakes for caring who that person is. There's no intrigue for me because it's just going to be someone shit, probably.
So much shit, probably. So true. True words never been spoken. Fucking Sammy Guevara. Next up, we had the patriarchy. They were backstage. Christian put over Nick Wayne's four-way match. They put out just reiterated his aim to be world champion. Mox shouldn't count him out. And then as they were leaving, Kip interrupts and he's trying to intercept Nick Wayne. Christian absolutely buries the poor lad, says that he'll put him in the dirt right next to his father. Kip Sabian's sort of been flittering about the patriarchy like a fucking fruit fly. So I mean, like, if it was someone like, i.e., Beth Phoenix signed, Beth Phoenix was trying to lure Nick Wayne away. That's enough intrigue, and it's like, I don't, I, but it's just Kip Sabian and doing fuck all. Like,
I don't feel like we've.
it's not enough. It's not enough to just
Yeah.
have him just constantly intercept Nick Wayne every week. It's not the cliffhanger that you think it is.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And yeah, like you say, if it was a different person, and I'm not shitting on Kip Sabian, I'm just saying we've not had that reason really to be like, oh, what's he doing, sort of thing. It's just like he's pretty much just a guy, and he just happens to be there. And I forget about it every time until it happens again. I'm like, oh yeah, he was there last time, I think, but you can't really remember. It's not memorable. It's not interesting.
It's not interesting to speculate on. Like, we're not
Yeah,
sat here going, "Oh, why could this be?" Like,
exactly.
I mean, why could this be? Probably for a Rampage fucking match, Rampage storylines. That's what it's for. Garbage. Moving on. Mariah May with fucking Serena Deeb versus Yuka Sakazaki and Queen Aminata. She returned. This was after again the fallout of Collision. Um, it was fun in ring work, but the stakes were low and my level of interest was low. Was my summary of the match.
That's fair enough. You know, I was like, oh, I'm here for a women's tag match on Dynamite. That's not something we get often. Like four women in the ring at one time. Wow. I didn't know we could do that on Dynamite. And it to me, I quite liked how they had, so you had Mariah and Yuka sort of had a thing, and then this was all on Collision, and Queen Aminata and Serena Deeb sort of had a thing on Collision, so it kind of made me like, I should have watched Collision. Okay, that's good. That's making me want to watch the other product. Okay, good. And then it's tying into Dynamite, and there's actually some sort of background to it. Yeah, that's good. Um, and really good wrestlers involved in this, and also giving women more airtime is always good, especially when they're sort of newish sort of faces, especially to Dynamite. And you've given them, putting them in with Mariah, who is obviously the champion, so she's at the top of the division. So you're kind of giving them that rub, I guess. Is that the right word? I don't know. That's a very sort of wrestling lingo-y term, isn't it? Um, so yeah, in lots of ways, I was like, I quite enjoyed this, but I appreciate where you're coming from. It's like you don't really. It's weird because I think with the way they're going with Mariah and Mina Shirakawa, it's like, okay, so that's the feud. So why are we sort of making a little bit of a U-turn with her and Yuka? Because I would love to care about that feud, but there's two sort of going on, and obviously the Yuka one's the secondary one to the story they're trying to build with Mina. So it's weird how I don't know. We've got a sort of like got two tracks going at the same time. Um, so yeah, that's kind of roundabout what I thought of it. I thought it was a good match, but not like gonna blow your mind type amazing match. But it was pretty decent.
Yeah, but again, like inconsequential. Serena Deeb
Yeah.
could not give a fuck about if I tried. Yuka Sakazaki, I enjoy. I've enjoyed her previously. Um, when she's had a Dynamite appearances. Mariah May was fucking standout on this. I mean, yeah, she's a great wrestler, but again, needs a bit more exposure. So I'm not complaining about her being on the show. I'm like, let her cook sort of vibe. But yeah, it's like you said, you already know where things are going. This is just thrown together to fill space for a women's match.
Yeah.
Clearly, a lot of the women, after All In All Out, taking some time off, resting up, healing, as they should, but then we're left with this. Um, Yuka went for the Magical Girl Splash as pin Deeb, but Mariah went for the DQ by hitting her with the belt, and then lashed her, which again, like you say, it's like setting up a feud. It's heated, but it's just to me, it was like such a weird finish. I
Mm,
don't know. I get it. It's like, oh, we need to show Mariah as this like unstable character, but I don't know. I just don't think it really. If the aim is to get people over, I don't think it achieved that.
yeah, I don't think the finish benefited anyone because sometimes with like
Yeah.
a finish like this, it's to protect people so no one's taking the pin. But I don't really think it had that effect. I think the effect it did have was like, it makes sense that Mariah would do that because she's not in this match for any reason. Like she doesn't give a fuck about it really. She's not there to win the match. She doesn't really care. She's the way I sort of rationalized it was, oh, she's just in the match to get her hands on Yuka. But then, like I said, that's inconsequential because we're building up to her and Mina. So it's complicated. It's confusing in that sense.
Yeah. We had Mina Shirakawa. She was shown and said that she's coming to AEW. It's interesting because her motive, she spoke about how she still has a fondness for Mariah May, but she's not happy with what she's turned into.
Yeah.
Um, so I like it. It's not just I'm coming in and I'm getting revenge on you because you've done this and you've done that. It's conflicted and it's interesting and who knows? I feel like for me it's quite exciting because it's like one, Misha Shirakawa, great wrestler, great personality, uh, really translates over to American TV. Her English is really good as well.
Yeah.
I think. I think like a promo and everything just translates really well across, which it's not always the case with Joshi's. And I'm like, oh, maybe they'll both turn heel and just be crazy lesbians together. Like who knows where this is going, girl? So, it's one, like happy she's coming and that. I think she'll be a good asset. Two, it's intriguing and it's gonna be something for Mariah to sink her teeth into and it's not so clean cut, I don't think. And that's fun.
Yes, I completely agree. Yeah, I do completely agree with you. You're absolutely right. I wish why can't we explore like why couldn't we have left like the Yuka stuff and explored that fully instead of it being like a sort of passive and fleeting thing?
Right, next up we had the Nigel promo. Um, but it wouldn't play. So again, this is another awkward moment.
Yeah.
Taz was laughing. It was just cringe. But then it did show eventually. Showed the Ring of Honor rivalry from the 2000s. It had interviews of wrestlers and backstage personnel in AW who were present at that time. Um, he said Danielson is one of the most famous wrestlers, and to get his redemption, he needs to go against him because he's representative of what he could have been. They both went to WWE, both had the contract. Danielson wasn't honest about his injuries. Nigel was. Obviously, we know that all turned out.
Oh,
And yeah, just how he's been forgotten as a wrestler, and yeah, it's really amped it up from more than just all that clam digger or I've never liked Danielson to no, I have like a real like legitimate reason, and this hatred lies within something deep within me. And yeah, I thought this was sick.
yeah, so did I. I really wish that they could directly mention that what you just talked about, how they both had that WWE contract, but only one of them ended up going and main eventing WrestleMania because he fucking lied about his injuries and Nigel was honest. I wish they could mention that, but obviously they can't because it was WWE. But that would be an awesome thing to bring into this as well. That just adds another layer to it. But yeah, their rivalry in Ring of Honor have sort of been my hyperfixation this week, like watching some of those matches back. And I've still not even watched all of them because there's so many. But I mean, I just really, really hope that we do get to see it and we can run some of that back and get some of that nostalgia. But it's interesting what you said earlier that it might not even happen at all. Um, I think it will. I think it will. I think it'll be right up until the wire. Like, is Danielson going to show up? And then he does.
Oh,
That's what I think is going
I
to happen.
don't, I don't know. I feel like it should be saved for Wrestle Dream,
Yeah.
personally, for a bigger, better crowd. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if I'm like feeling it, like in my intuition that it's gonna happen next week. I feel like there's gonna be some fallout, some implications, something will happen, but I just don't think we're getting that clean 30, 40 minute match. I
Mm.
just don't. I just don't think that's on the cards, but I could be wrong.
It's
And
got
yeah,
a,
like not only sorry.
so I was just saying it's like a gut feeling that you got that it's just not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only like say Danielson getting the contract, but you know when you look at Ring of Honor and all those guys that Nigel came up with, pretty much all of them went on to have quite illustrious, long careers.
Yeah.
Um, he really was just like the the only one really to fall behind the way he did. It is truly heartbreaking. I don't know if you've watched his documentary. That's another
No,
great watch, I feel like,
yeah,
before next week. Maybe that could be like the final one after you've watched like all the matches, but you
yeah.
can
That's
have
gonna
a
be
good
like
cry.
that finale, yeah. I keep
Yeah.
on seeing edits on Twitter as well, and they're like making me nearly cry and stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
building it up. Um, so I'm gonna be pretty disappointed if we don't get at least something on Wednesday. But I quite like you thinking that like we don't get the full payoff now, and we wait and we build it up even more, and when we do get the payoff, it's even bigger. But yeah, maybe we do get that because why isn't the title on the line?
I'm not sure, I guess, because like it's just beyond beyond the realms of title, and also Nigel is not really a contender. He's not been in
Yeah.
the ring, so he's done nothing to really, and I think how many fuckers are in line for that. But
Yeah, that's valid. That is valid. But I didn't realize the title wasn't on the line until like I mean I don't even know when I realized like after one day after Dynamite last week. I just assumed that it was and then I found out it wasn't. I was like, huh, that's a bit strange. Um I don't hate the fact that the title's not online because like you said it does sort of make sense. Nigel's not really a contender for it. He just wants this match to prove that he can go toe to toe with Danielson. What if Nigel wins by like some sort of fluke next week and then that's his it's sort of like an eliminator match and then that's his stake to have a championship match. I don't know, I'm just spitballing
mm,
it.
maybe I think my conclusion all along has been Nigel, this will happen. Nigel will lose. And I think it'll end on a positive note. And I think
Mm.
I just got it in my head that whoever takes Danielson out, I know, you know, we've got a hangman speculator in the comments. But I think, yeah, it will be a heel that will go over. Danielson will go out quite brutally. And I just got this image of like Nigel coming out to the ring and like holding his hand up and it's like burying the hatchet. And I don't know. Like that is just like the fan fiction in my head. You know, when you
Yeah.
just got something in your head and you're like, that's what's happening. But who knows? It might be loads of that might never happen. You might never bury the hatchet. Who knows?
I don't think that's like too far fetched. I can see that happening because like you want to end you bring the story to an end, don't you? And that what
Yeah, and I think
would be a great way
you
to
want Danielson's last match, semi-retirement, to be a positive
yeah.
note.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he'll definitely play into, no matter what the outcome is, I think he'll definitely play into the final match. Um, Next up, we had Mox coming out. He was accompanied by Shafir and Claudia. Private Party attempted to take him out, but they were overpowered. This just made them look weak.
Yes, it really
Commander came into the ring, which was nice because obviously he was one of the people who was taken out, I suppose. I really enjoyed the tope into the uppercut from
Yeah, I
Claudia. I thought
love that.
that was tight. Uh, Mox kind of has Isaiah uh pinned up, and he's like, I can end your career, but you're one of the OGs, but you haven't grown at all, which was kind of a burial. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's true.
not even necessarily, but I'm just like in this, is it as a mark? Is it a burial to the talent, or is it like a burial to the booking, you know?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's totally valid to look at it in that way. Like either of those two ways, like burying the talent and also sort of
Like, is it
burying the
really his
booking.
fault?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But in kayfabe, I like the concept of Mox sort of targeting like OGs like Darby and Private Party who
Mm,
have he thinks haven't lived up to their potential and like were so these promising young talents and they've let AEW down. I think that's an interesting
mm.
concept.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's, I guess, like fleshing it, fleshing it out a bit more. Um,
I just wanted to add as well, I love the way that Marina Shafir is being presented. She's just I would like it to be maybe explained why she's there, but I just like how
mm,
tough she's coming across and she can easily take out a guy and she's just kind of there. I think that's very cool.
mm. Yeah, for sure. And then he had the sort of sledgehammer, and he broke Zay's fingers as sort of like he's like, you're gonna thank me for this. This is gonna motivate you. Darby attacks from behind. I believe it was Claudio with the
Yeah.
skateboard. Him and Mox have a face off, but Mox retreats. And Darby says he's gonna run through Mox. Um, Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was just the segment for me was just okay. Again, like there's certain things I agree with you. The presentation of Marina Shafir, um, it's solid, and yeah, you'd like some more explanation, but it's pretty good. Um, but yeah, there's still like a lot to be like desired from, because it's like you said the previous week. Yeah, I get it, like private party representative of where AEW maybe went wrong, like an OG that was forgotten um over time. But it's like you say, if you want to be disruptive, you need to start going for like the main players sort of thing. So
Yeah. Surely the BCC
yeah.
problem with the Young Bucks. Maybe I think I said this last week. Surely you have a problem with the Young Bucks, right? Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
so that's where like all fucking stems from, the EVPs.
yeah, and like I know they've had feuds. I know we've had matches. We maybe don't need to run that back. I don't know. I'm just thinking like with my kayfabe cap on, it's their fault. So go after them, and they're the champions. So go
Yeah,
after them. But whatever, whatever.
for sure. Next, so we just had a Jack Perry video package, just putting over his little Jesus fucking scapegoat gimmick. Bless him.
Yeah, and his van or
Yep,
whatever it is, his truck, and the police are after him for some unknown reason.
bless him. Next up, we had Ricochet versus the Beast Mortos. Do you know what? I enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's just the
I'll
way he
admit,
said that was funny.
like I couldn't be asked, but then it really won me round.
Yeah,
I
it was
felt
a
like
good
I was
match.
watching a video game, and the Beast Mortos is like a final boss or something. And do
Yeah,
you know
like
what?
max 100 skill on everything.
He's so committed. Like I was loving the sound effects. Like that is a man who is committed to his
Committed to the
gimmick.
bit.
Committed to the bit for sure. Like I'm not sure if I want to see you every week on Dynamite. I'm not sure if like, you know, I want you there, but as far as like luchadors go, you're a laugh you. You're a laugh you. I'd have a drink with you down pub. Do you know what?
He's a
I'd have
solid
a
bloke.
Chinese for you. Solid lad for sure. And I thought it was at first, you know, you think these two, how are they going to go in the ring? Totally different styles. One's, more heavier set. He can move. Look at me, fucking biggest beast Mortos stan. Who'd have fucking thought? Um, but right, you wouldn't think, but the styles I thought were really great.
Yeah.
Ricochet's high flying and high risk maneuvers almost were justified in the sense of having to run circles around and use his speed and his agility to overcome his opponent.
Yeah.
Um, I thought it was I wasn't bored for sure. So
Yeah, same. I thought it was a really good match. I agree with you. Um, yeah, you maybe didn't expect it, but yeah, Mortis at the same time as being like obviously like the stronger one and the bigger one, obviously. He also like was like you said, he can move and was really athletic as well. Um, and yeah, it was entertaining. And the main thing that I took away from this was that bloody Canadian destroyer that they did on the outside. Mortis took a massive bump and you could see like his head proper like bounce on the
oh,
floor.
it's wrong government name territory now.
Yeah,
Fuck with him like this.
beast.
S tier.
He's
S
the
tier
beast.
to fucking roster member. Yeah, and the ending as well, Ricochet, the crucifix bomb, the axe kick, which is so tight, and then the vertigo. Um, really great finish. And like I say, the spots, that Canadian destroyer just hit it right on.
Yeah. I hope
Uh
he's all right after that because I was thinking that's concussion territory there.
yeah, well he's got all that mask on and his
Helmet.
horns. Yeah. Yeah, he should wear a helmet underneath. Do you know what it made me cringe as well in this? When Ricochet went, I'm just that damn good. I'm like, oh, that gave me the ick.
Ricochet does give me the ick. He's a very sort of
When he opens his
cringy
mouth,
guy.
like,
Yeah.
as long as he don't speak,
Just
as long as he don't speak, gets in that kitchen, makes me a sandwich,
does
how
something.
men should be.
Give me a
Yeah.
a flippy sandwich. Yeah, agreed.
Next up, Hangman video package. This was just a confirmation of his descent into madness. And then we had Shivani in the ring with Hangman. Hangman's still on his revenge arc against the supporters of Swerve. He said Shivani had given support for Swerve on the comm desk. Jeff Jarrett intervenes. Hangman begins instantly thrashing Jeff Jarrett. He doesn't even get a chance to really get into the ring. Threw him over the barricade, around the ring. But by the time he gets him into the ring, security intervene. And so we have a pull apart and Jeff Jarrett pledges to kick his ass. Pretty simple but effective for furthering the Jeff Jarrett mini feud.
Yeah. You summed it up perfectly well. I completely agree with you, and I think Hangman is just wonderful, isn't he? In every way, he's perfect in every way, apart from like setting a guy's house on fire. But we've all got flaws.
We can fix him. It's all right. And Jeff Jarrett, our beloved, fighting for justice.
Love him. What a role model.
Yeah, after being like the most carny chicken shit heel for like months, and then suddenly woke up one day and is like, do you know what? I am the upstanding like wrestler. Like I am the fucking benchmark gold star for morality. Like, okay, sure.
Justice. He stands for justice.
He does. He does. He is lawful good. But yeah, I mean, he says it's going to be people who supported Swerve, but who's going to come after Jeff Jarrett?
Mm,
Who
yeah.
is the next one? I'm interested
There's a lot
to
of,
know who that will be.
and can I just say as well, like I just knew it was going to turn something on Tony Schiavone. Like the second I realized it was them two in the ring, and Tony was like, "You said you're going to go after everyone who ever supported Swerve." I was just like, "Yeah, I know you did." I just, yeah, that's
Game
just
over, bro.
irrational he is.
Yeah. We had Ricochet with Renee. Osprey asked for a word, said it's his bad for making it heated the previous week, but Ricochet, he's calm with that. He wants a match after Grand Slam, essentially. he was like, yeah, I did what you said. I racked up some wins. And like, you've won like 2 matches against, love him, great lad, beast mortis. But like, where's his standing card? Like, why is he sudden fucking
I know, right?
the benchmark for the international title?
I,
But
I think this was just another example of what we were talking about before, him just being a bit cringe when he opens his mouth. Like, there was nothing really wrong with this segment, but he was a very long-winded way of saying, "Let's have a match," and I'm
I'm
just
really
like,
passionate.
yeah,
You
he's
can
very,
tell he's super excited to be in AEW.
yeah, that's nice, that's nice. Um, I do wonder why this match couldn't be next week. I feel like it would have been better next week.
Fifth year anniversary though, isn't it? We need a main event for that. So
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I think that's probably like the only reason, to be honest. It's just the way that this time of year is like laid out for AEW. It's one thing after another, isn't it? But
yeah,
I just
for
didn't
sure.
like hearing Ricochet speak for an extended amount of time in this. I just was like, okay, get to the point.
I think with AEW it sort of plateaus after a big season. I feel like the all in, all out season, and then we hit the plateau. And then looking at the trend of the start of this year when Dynamite was horrendously bad, um, that was the plateau after World's End.
Yeah,
So I feel like, and there's always going to be an off season. There's always going to be, uh, especially when you've got a lot of your major players off screen. Um,
for sure. Yeah,
but
we have ups and
yeah,
downs
then we do. Then we got into the trios main event match. This was fucking awesome. This made the absolute slog that I'd endured worth it. This was
I knew you'd love this.
yeah, this was Fletcher, Osprey, Takeshita. Yeah, Takeshita. Well, why have I like totally lost who's it? Yeah, yes, it was. And then it was the Elite. It was the Bucks and Okada. I
Yeah.
was like,
It,
just
I
totally
was
on
a
them.
bit like that when it started. I was a bit confused, like who's in this and what's going on. I was a bit lost. I feel like it sort of came out of nowhere this match.
Also, another awkward moment when Kyle Fletcher came out and he had his fist to bump Takeshita, and Takeshita just didn't do it because he just wasn't looking. And Kyle just laughed and was like, "Ha ha, what a lad," and just like put it down. And
Oh no.
that was brilliant. That was
Great.
brilliant. Very cringe. Yeah, this was just awesome. Fletcher and Nicholas opening up the nice tandem offense with Osprey, which continued the whole way through. This just felt like such a great display of tag wrestling. There was so much, like I said, tandem offense, the Bucks. You expect that of them. And then on top of that, you had the tension between Takeshita and Okada. But not only that, the tension between Okada and Osprey and Cal Fletcher, but more
Yeah,
specifically, I feel like Osprey, him sort of being shafted in the Callis family. And I thought Takeshita really like, he was proper feeling his oats in this match, one he bless him. Uh, it was just great. And then Cal Fletcher continued to shine and look great. And I mean, Bucks and Osprey, you just expect it of him. I mean, I do at least. Like I think every wrestling match, I'm never let down by. But and Okada, of course. But I feel like Takeshita and Fletcher really got that ability to shine in this match, which is really something considering the people that they were in there with.
that is so true. Yeah, that's such a good point. I think that, and commentary said it a few times about Kyle that he was like quite a big standout in this match, which I agree with. But I think Takeshita was as well. And like you said, they both had such great chance to shine. And yeah, Takeshita stood out the most to me. Um, I loved it when he suplexed both the books at the same time. That was really awesome. When he reversed the Rainmaker attempt into a blue Thunderbomb, I mean, just so awesome. Yeah, love him. His aura is.
It is,
And getting to see him on Dynamite and in the main event is so good.
and you're just getting worked because like that's the storyline is that he's being the underdog and he's being overlooked.
Yeah,
But like I'm
right.
like, that's my boy. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's my boy. And then when like he forcibly tagged himself in and was doing all that, and he was like, come on. I was like, yes, like proud soccer mom, like on the corner, like That's my boy up there. Um, yeah, just super great stuff. And towards the end as well, how he had to begrudgingly tag in Osprey because Takeshita towards the middle end took like most of the offense while the other two were out. Um, yeah, it was great, and I really enjoyed another spot the books. This was on to Osprey, the sit up powerbomb after the stomp while Osprey was lying over the top rope. Really, really nice. Um, and the
And that
rapid
was a
pace
really
of the
good one.
last 5 minutes, the chaos, uh, and Kyle getting the win with Osprey, and them two. I know like they got the history of United Empire and all that, but the chemistry is just it's just off the charts. They
Yes.
are really, 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 really good for sure.
Yeah, I guess it sort of answers the criticism that we maybe had last week, like why are they fighting for the tag belts? It's like, okay, I can clearly see from this match that you work really well as a team, and we already knew that to an extent, but we were shown this like explicitly on this episode of Dynamite, just how good they really are. And yeah, like you said, the chemistry is amazing. And I thought the finish was really nice. And I liked that Kyle got the cover as well.
Yeah, but you have to think that they're going to lose next week because of the match with Ricochet, and
Mm,
surely that'll be like too many plates to spin for Osprey. That is like the one thing
yeah,
that I like. Yeah, he is so good, and yeah, Osprey should be like the card should just be Osprey, 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 Osprey. But like also, I just wish like we zoned in on one thing because
yes,
it would give more room for other people on the card to move up. Like as
yeah,
great as a tag team as they are, I still stand by the criticism of, but I'd rather see an actual tag team where they can't go and fight for the international title. They can't go do a singles run. Like they are
exactly.
specific, like an INFTR. Um, so yeah, I just wish like there was more focus, but
Yeah,
you know,
same,
I still
same.
had a great time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I couldn't agree more. It, they're good. Yes, they're a good team, but like Osprey is a singles champ. That in theory should be his main focus. And clearly he's got a thing going on with Ricochet and there's like two things going on at once. Like why? Why is that? We don't need that, I don't think. And I like both the stories, but I don't need both of them at the same time.
Yeah, I just think it's more so for me like other people on the card not having
Yeah,
things to do, and
definitely.
it takes up a lot of spots, but it's hard because he is like the main attraction. He's so
Yeah,
over at the minute, and yeah,
for sure.
we don't have all the solutions for everything. It's just observations, but yeah, baby, Grand Slam next week. I'm going in with like moderate expectations, so we'll see how it goes. This show for this week for me was a 5 out of 10. I feel like that's quite generous, but I feel like this match was really good, and also Mortos versus Ricochet ended up being quite fun, and I feel like especially since the week before the wrestling was just abysmal the whole way through. Um, I feel like this picks up the extra few points, but there's still a lot that that was shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say five too. That is exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as last week. Some really good matches, like in just in terms of wrestling quality. But it was definitely lacking in a lot of areas that we've just discussed. So yeah, I do think five is probably quite generous, but I think it's I think it's fair. I
Mm.
think it's fair.
Remember we started this podcast and we were like, oh, we'll really struggle to see eye to eye. Like we've got different wrestling opinions, and then we've just like merged into one.
We just share a brain cell, that's what it is.
Literally, it literally is. Um, yeah, and then the Q&A next week, we're also going to be talking about how we became wrestling fans. So just literally anything that you can send in that should be out hopefully at the weekend. Should have a Grand Slam review out. Lucy will be unfortunately solo in that, but you know,
Brad and
I'm sure
Sol.
I'll give you a concise
It'll be rapid fire.
report. It'll be rapid fire.
No yapping.
No bullshit. No bullshit.
Like, this is what happened. This is what I thought. Moving on. Nah, it's not going to be like that at
Yeah.
all. I'm probably going to be in tears like Nigel McGuinness.
Yeah, if that happens.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see. But yeah, definitely get your questions in if you've got any, and let us know. Do you agree with our rating of a 5 out of 10, or is that too generous? Don't know. There's going to be a lot of different opinions.
No one should be arguing for more.
Yeah, I doubt it. It's definitely a mixed bag of a Dynamite. So yeah, hopefully Grand Slam is going to be a lot better. So don't forget to subscribe, so make sure you get to see that video, and like or give us a follow and a rating on if you listen on Spotify. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the support. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, you and good night, bad.
I wish you died in the womb!